In Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, Cassiopeia stands as a celestial force far from ancient and inscrutable than even the most sorrow-driven Shadar. Where Shadar was a tragic villain, a being consumed by grief and twisted into cruelty, Cassiopeia, however, is despair refined into doctrine. She and the other celestial sages created Shadar as a vessel for human sorrow, treating him as an expendable tool in their quest for balance. This reveals her true horror. She is not the victim of the world's pain, but its architect, willing to condemn one soul to torment if it means preserving the illusion of order. Her powers, sealing away catastrophes, freezing time, and bestowing fate-altering magic, are not just abilities, they are the instruments of being who views existence as an equation to be solved no matter the cost. Welcome to Villainalysis. Cassiopeia's design stands as a breathtaking fusion of Studio Ghibli's signature artistry and Level 5's distinct fantasy sensibilities. With her flowing constellation-adorned robes, luminous aura, and serene yet inscrutable expression, she embodies the ethereal beauty and quiet power found in Ghibli's most iconic mystical beings, like Princess Mononoke's forest spirit, or maybe Haku from Spirited Away in dragon form. Yet, while Ghibli's spirits feel organic and alive with natural world, Cassiopeia's design leans something into more deliberately otherworldly. Her celestial motifs and geometric embellishments evoke a cosmic orderliness reflecting her role as a sage who governs fate itself. In the shadowed lore of Ni No Kuni, the White Witch's origin is a tragedy of divine proportions, one where Cassiopeia, the celestial sage of cold calculus, played a pivotal and damning role when the world was threatened by a cataclysmic sorrow of zodiarchy, the council of starbound deities. Cassiopeia did not destroy or purify their grief. Instead, she merged with them, binding their collective anguish into a single, unstable entity, the White Witch. This was not an act of mercy, but of cosmic triage. Cassiopeia, ever the pragmatist, saw the zodiarchy's despair as a force too vast to disperse, yet too dangerous to leave unchecked, and her solution? To compress their suffering into a vessel she believed could be controlled. A living prison of stars and sorrow. But grief cannot be contained without consequence. The White Witch emerged not as a docile guardian, but as a broken god, her heart shattered by the very emotions Cassiopeia sought to manage. In this unholy fusion, we see Cassiopeia's fatal flaw, her belief that cosmic balance could be achieved through suppression rather than healing. The White Witch's rampage is an inevitable result, a divine tantrum against the sage who thought sorrow could be collared instead of comforted. Thus, Cassiopeia's greatest act of salvation, in quotes, became her most damning failure, a warning that even gods cannot outrun the weight of the hearts they chain. Throughout the story of Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, Cassiopeia's celestial perspective often makes her communication indirect, forcing Oliver to interpret vague prophecies and make difficult choices. For example, when she reveals the existence of the White Witch, she does not fully explain her history or motives, leaving Oliver to grapple with the doubt and confusion. This lack of clarity becomes her social hurdle. Oliver must learn to trust his own judgment rather than rely entirely on her wisdom. Additionally, her revelation about Shadar's tragic past comes late, forcing Oliver to confront the moral complexity of his mission. Had Cassiopeia explained earlier that Shadar was once a victim of the White Witch's sorrow, Oliver might have sought a different approach, but her withholding of key truths forces him to face emotional turmoil and adapt his worldview. However, this was not always the case using Tess, just like Oliver, as Cassiopeia's most catastrophic miscalculation is her handling of Shadar, whom she and the other sages created to absorb humanity's grief. She believes this will maintain balance, but her cold utilitarian approach backfires spectacularly. Shadar, burdened with infinite sorrow, rebels against his purpose, becoming a tyrant who twists souls into monsters. Rather than preventing suffering, Cassiopeia's solution amplifies it, forcing Oliver to confront a villain who is, in many ways, her own creation. Her inability to foresee Shadar's corruption or to offer him compassion exposes a fatal flaw. She understands cosmic order, but not the hearts of those who sustain it. By the time she aids Oliver in defeating Shadar, it's too late. Her plan has already caused immeasurable harm. Oliver must fix it through sheer moral strength, not celestial guidance. Cassiopeia's magic, while protective, often sets up battles that Oliver must resolve. The most striking example is her sealing of the White Witch, which initially seems like a solution, but the seal is imperfect. When it weakens, Oliver must confront the unleashed fury of a grief-stricken demigoddess, leading to one of the game's most brutal boss fights. Similarly, her time-freezing spell in Perdita stops Shadar's devastation momentarily, but once Oliver arrives, he must battle through Shadar's forces in a fractured, dangerous version of the city. Even her celestial signs, while granting Oliver new powers, often unlock just in time for him to face stronger enemies, implying that her aid is calibrated to test his limits rather than make his journey easy. Cassiopeia's magic is mighty, but her safeguards are brittle. Her sealing of the White Witch is meant to contain the threat of her grief, but like Shadar, this intervention only delays disaster. The seal inevitably weakens, unleashing the White Witch's eternal winter. Here, Cassiopeia's weakness is her faith in absolute control. She assumes her power can suppress emotion, grief in this case, indefinitely. But Oliver proves that true resolution requires understanding and healing, not brute force containment. Where Cassiopeia fails, Oliver succeeds by listening to the White Witch's pain and offering forgiveness, something the sage never considered. Her inability to adapt beyond cold, top-down solutions nearly destroys the world, while Oliver's empathy saves it. Cassiopeia treats Oliver as a tool of destiny, assuming he'll follow her script without deviation. Yet her rigid adherence to prophecy blinds her to his autonomy. For example, she never warns him about the required sacrifice, the death of someone he loves to defeat the White Witch, leaving him shattered when Esther is lost. This omission isn't wisdom, it's cowardice. Had she prepared him, Oliver might have found another way. Instead, her silence forces him to rebuild his resolve from scratch. Even then, Oliver defies her expectations by reviving Esther, proving that love can rewrite fate. Cassiopeia's weakness here is her dogma. She cannot imagine a world where her rule doesn't apply, but Oliver, through sheer will, bends them. By the story's end, Cassiopeia's grand design lies in ruins. Shadar's rebellion, the White Witch's return, and Oliver's defiance all stem from her failure to account for emotion, free will, and unintended consequences. Her perfect solution creates monsters. Her silence breeds trauma, yet this very weakness gives the story its heart. Oliver triumphs not by following her path, but by rejecting its cruelty. Where she sees chess pieces, he sees people. In the end, Cassiopeia's greatest weakness is also her narrative purpose. She exists to show that no divine plan can replace human kindness. The world isn't saved by sages, but by a boy who dares to care more than they ever did. Thank you, dear viewer, for listening. Please subscribe, share, and comment telling me what you want to see discussed in the future. Goodbye.